I'm sitting at work one day and I get a chat, and a lot of times in my computer I have two screens. And over here on the far side is a narrow screen that has chat, and that's everybody on my team and whoever is on it. We chat. That's how we help each other. If someone's stuck on a call, what do I say for this? Where do I go? Da, da, da. Well, also my supervisor will get on it, and she'll just pop in there, or she'll do a private one where I have a new screen, a new little thing come up, and it says, Becky, are you on a call? Well, of course, half the time I'm making cards or not really even looking at it. And pretty soon she has to tell somebody next to me to look at my chat. So I did. And she said, Becky, would you come over here? So I did. And I get over to her and she says, we just got a call and Kentucky is wanting someone there for Silver Sneakers. Silver Sneakers is the health program that insurance, Medicare insurance, gives to a lot of members. And she says, would you like to go? Do you want to go to Kentucky? And I said, sure, yeah, I go. She says, well, you'll be going alone. Okay, alone. All right, let me think about this. I'm going alone, never flown alone before. I've flown with my sisters, friends, but I always followed them around because they knew what they were doing. And let's see. Last week at church, we did a fundraiser for Alzheimer's, and you gave a donation of $5. They gave you a map, and you just had to walk around the building, do a little loop, and come back. I got lost twice. Even though there were arrows painted, I finally discovered on the sidewalk, I got lost twice. And I felt I couldn't cross across the lawn because it would look like I was cheating. So I had to double back, and I passed twice the group of 8 people that were following me. So I wonder what they thought when I headed off this way and they all got that way. So anyway, I thought about that. I thought about the time lately when I was walking around the house looking for my phone to discover it's in my hand. It's right here. Or the time I lost my phone, and I lost it for about 6 months, and my husband found it in the spring sheets, folded between the sheets in the closet. So I'm thinking all this, thinking, do I want to go alone? Do I want to trust my driving and get on planes and not miss planes? And I thought, sure, I can go. You bet. I'm up for it. I got to put on my big girl panties. I'm going. So I did. I decided to go, and I was scared to death, but it was exciting. But I thought, I need to do this alone because my husband hates to fly, and if I ever have to fly somewhere, it's probably going to be alone. And it's always educational. But so anyway, do you want to go to Kentucky? So I said, yes. This is what I'm thinking, that I'm going to miss something or leave something. I've lost my purse over 20 times. I've left it places. I have never had anything, lost it permanently, never had anything taken except the only time that my purse was not lost. It was stolen out of my car in the garage, and it had my son's $20 in it. But I always got it back, so that's another story. But I'm just thinking, I'm going to leave something somewhere. Well, one of the first nights when I got there, afterwards, and since I was alone, you go to supper alone. So I took a book, because you're alone, and to sit there and stare at people is kind of uncomfortable. And I was reading this, and this is what the story was that I read. As a frequent traveler, sometimes, and oh, by the way, this is a daily guidepost. I had stole it kind of from Rita when we were helping her with the rubber sale. She did say we could take things. But as a frequent traveler, sometimes I worry about getting sick on a trip. One day I was talking to Mary Lou in Waukesha, Wisconsin. This is about Wisconsin. She told me about the time she and a friend flew to New Orleans for a cruise. Before they even boarded the ship, Mary Lou fell and broke her hip, which required an emergency room visit and surgery. The ordeal could have been horrifying if it hadn't been for a few God moments, as Mary Lou put it. First, the emergency room doctor told her that his parents' best friends, Uncle Gene and Aunt Betsy, lived in the town she lived in. Mary Lou gasped, I know them. Gene and Betsy are close friends of ours. And later, the surgeon who replaced her hip told her she received her medical degree at Freighter Hospital in Milwaukee, very near Mary Lou's home, which helped her relax. And just 3 days later, which is hard to believe, her and her friend were boarding the flight back home. And wouldn't you know it, the woman sitting next to them just happened to be a nurse. And when they changed planes in Atlanta, the woman in the seat in front of them was also a nurse. Both women helped Mary Lou get through the flights. Now, if you've ever had hip surgery, which most of you haven't, you are not moving that great after hip surgery. The whole experience taught me there are definite God moments in life, and that week I saw one after another after another. Now, when I travel, I watch out for God moments. I've discovered them in many places and in different faces. The women who helped me put my heavy bag in the overhead bin of the plane. The nurse who switched to a center seat so she could sit next to a man who had a mild seizure. The pilot who walked the blind man to his seat. The train conductor in Rome who let me on even though my ticket had the wrong date. And this is how it ends, because it usually has scripture verses. Don't forget to be kind to strangers, for some who have done this have entertained angels without even realizing it. And as I'm reading that, I'm thinking, that is me. This is like so me. I have had so many things go wrong this day already, so I thought, that's what I'm going to talk about. So guys, you're stuck. You're going to learn about my trip. But I titled it Before You, because this is why. In Exodus 13:21, it says, And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. And I knew this, and this is how I felt about my trip, even though I was so afraid, because I really didn't know squat about traveling, how much to take, what I needed, what I even needed to take. But I knew that he would get me through it. Well, one of the things I had to take was a computer, of course. The job gives you a laptop to use. So we got it all working. So the morning before I left, I put it up. Yep, everything's great. It's working just fine. Packed my bags. Just kidding. They weren't that many. But I did have, I'm pulling behind this. I've got a great big, and I was going to bring them, but a great big thing over my shoulders, my purse. Also carrying a computer bag. So it was a load to take. And I was thinking about having to get from gate to gate, not knowing anything, how this would work. This became my favorite thing to say the whole trip. It's my first time. It's my first time. I talked to the girl who's checking me in. This is my first time. And because some of these things people just know. But anyone I talk to, this is my first time all alone. Now, if you want, the kids who are here, whatever, when you see a heart here, kids, I have a gift for you or whatever. I want you to count how many hearts. The heart is telling you when God used someone to help me that day. And let's see how many hearts we come up with. All right, so here we are. This is actually the Green Bay terminal. You can go on the internet and find anything. And so my first thing was checking in. Didn't know how to use those machines. My sisters did it for me when I went. So I just went up to the guy. He tried to help me do those things, but they wouldn't work for him. So he took care of all these things, and he says, you'll do fine. Because I said, it's my first time. He says, you'll do fine. By the time I got done checking out with him, he looked at me and says, I don't know if you'll do fine. But I just said, because I'm scattered, and I'm looking for things that I left. Oh, here it is, you know what I mean? And finally, and he says, I don't know. So I had a laugh, and I'm thinking, I'll do fine. I will do fine. He asked, of course, for my identification, my Wisconsin license. I only brought it because I thought in case they needed to identify my body. I didn't realize you had to have your driver's license. That's the only reason I bought it or brought it with me. I had no idea. I did not remember that from before. So I was very glad I was able to pull it out and give it to him. That is not me, by the way. So then he tells me where I need to go, so I go, and I kind of knew, but I didn't know where the gates were, but I'm learning to read the signs. So I get up to where I need to be, and it's empty, and I think, well, I came early. I'm the first one. So I get comfy, and I sit down, and this woman walks by me, and she looks at me like that. Seriously, like, just kind of looked at me and scowled. She looks around, and then one of the guys comes out that, the people who let you on a plane, who read your tickets and let you on. So he comes through, and she goes, has the gate changed? It didn't change on my phone. He goes, oh, yeah, it did change. We weren't able to get it changed. I was sitting in the wrong gate. Wouldn't have known, except she gave me this look. And I look at her and I say, hi, very friendly Christian, hi, hi. And she's just looking at me. Where's everybody? She knew. I didn't know. So got up, walked through the door. People everywhere. I was one of the last to get there. So you have to get there even earlier, I guess. So, and then this is what these scriptures all come to me, or I searched for these, and they were all so pertinent. Exodus 23:20. See, I am sending an angel before you, that nice lady, to protect you on your journey and lead you safely to the place I have prepared for you. So I claim that's an awesome promise. It was just so true. Again, I said to this girl, who happened to be, okay, it's time to leave. Departure time from the Green Bay was 9:58. That's what it was supposed to be. We didn't get on the road until 10:35. Now, that's not a big thing, except I had to make a connection at the next place. And the next place was only a 15-minute difference. So it's getting close. And guess who was my seat partner? Yes, she was. She sat next to me. And it was wonderful. She was awesome. Her daughter was trying to get into Loma Linda. I know. Isn't that exciting? Yes. Trying to get in Loma. And she is all on this total health thing. So that's all we talked about for that half hour to Chicago. And I said to her, so you're like she was telling me, I said, well, what do you do like at your job? What is your day like? And she started explaining. I says, oh, you're like a salesperson. And she goes, well, yeah, kind of, I guess so. And she was. She was trying to recruit me to join this thing. And it was really, it's a gluten-free. I mean, it's a totally awesome thing, except, and I thought, Lord, am I sitting with her? Because I was wondering what to do after retirement. And no, it was, they believe in eating meat. A lot of meat with it. So I thought, no. But awesome woman, had a totally wonderful time with her. And I told her it was my first time. So she was explaining some things to me, what to expect. And one of those was to read gates, and which I did. I got off the plane immediately because I had to find out the gate I was going to. It was correct. It was on and this isn't the actual picture, by the way. But I learned about the gate and the time. Those were two most important things to me. If you could identify your flight and find them, which I did. This is all new to me. Some of this is so old for you. You've done this. Not me. I'm a babe. So we arrived in Chicago, or I arrived at 11:30. We had deboarded the plane in Chicago at 11:45. Yes. I got off the plane at 11:45 because, you sit there for a while before they let you off. And at 11:50, you were supposed to leave. So I'm looking at my gates, and seriously, it was gate, what did it say, 18? And I was at gate 1. So you are trucking it. I'm so glad I checked my bag. I didn't know if I could, and I did. And I am running, and I gave up jogging, and so it's run, Becky, run, Forrest, run. We're all just trucking it, trying to get down there. Not everybody. So they tell the people on the plane, please let those who would make a connection get off, please. Would you please sit? Which they did. And she says, okay, you can go. So I went. So we get in there, and I get down to the place there to sit. So I'm thinking I'm here. They didn't take off, so I get sit down really comfortable. And this is different. This is crowded because you're in Chicago now. And there's people all over. So I'm waiting for somebody to call my flight. Nobody calls. I'm getting nervous because it's already the time. And I go up to a Hispanic family, and I said, is this flight going to Kentucky? And they looked at me like, no. I said, oh, that's that flight. So here I was in the wrong gate. So I got in the right gate. And Isaiah 30:21, your own ears will hear him. Right behind you a voice will say, this is the way you should go, whether to the right or to the left. So, perfect. No matter. If you're in the wrong place, he's going to get you there. So, this is my next seatmate. She is a beautiful Asian woman. She sits down with me, gets out her papers, and she's reading, and I never said a word to her because she's busy. She's all into her whatever she was doing. But we got talking, and we got talking when we were landed. Because even though you're landed, you think you're up and off, and no, a lot of times you have to sit there. And we were doing that. So we got talking about a lot of things. She's a professor. She was down in Ecuador or someplace for college with students, and they were learning about the culture down there. And so I was telling her, that this is my first time. And she was saying, again, I was now in Kentucky, so I didn't really have to worry about that. But now I had to get a car that I never got on my own. I had to find it. I had to find my luggage. And she's telling me, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And it says, Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Guys, we don't have to worry where we are. He will follow you into the bathroom if you need him there. He is there with you. And what was so cool about her is that we're in Chicago Airport. And I found my luggage. Everything was going great. I got my car, and I was getting ready to leave, and who would run into but her? And she, again, just encouraged me. You'll do fine. It's good. It was nice talking to you. It was just awesome. All right, so do you want to go Kentucky, y'all? Yep, I'm here. I'm in Kentucky by myself. Getting my car. Everything went great. I asked them about they signed the contract. Do you want to load up your car with gas before you return, or do you want us to do it? And I go, No, I can do it because I can do that. I can do that. So I found out what GPS means. Let me tell you, I don't know what I would do without GPS if I would have been there by myself without someone to help you. Because if you're in strange places, you got someone on the side who is telling you, okay, here's coming. I was by myself. GPS, I found out what it means. God's piloting service. That is what it really is. God's piloting service. Let me tell you, and I still doubted it. That can't be right sometimes, I'm just thinking, that just can't be right, but it is. God's piloting service. Here is Louisville's, Kentucky's airport. Yeah, that is amazing. So I got in there, I got out of there, and this is the next day, actually. On the way to my first hotel where I was staying for the night, I had like 2.5-hour drive, and it's raining, and I'm in my car. And I can't figure out how to turn the windshield wipers on. I just can't figure it out. So here I am. I know how to get them to go one time. So here I'm driving the whole way. For an hour and a half, 2 hours. Just every once in a while hitting that button, So it worked. So that was fine. Got through that. The next day, we're driving, and the address takes me here. The meeting is here. No, I'm sorry. Backstep. This is where it took me. And over there, this was actually what this is. It's a gift shop. And what do you call that? When you can ride the trip line? What is that called? Zip line. Thank you, zip lining. That's a place where you could go zip lining and buy gifts and stuff. So I know the meeting's not here. They're setting up for 200 people. So I kind of drive around and go over here because I'm thinking maybe it's here. And that's just a construction building thing. And as I'm going back and forth looking, here's these guys in pickup trucks, just like it's kind of buried there. They're in their truck, and they're like leaning out the window, looking at me, driving. They got their arm and they're looking at me, and they keep looking at me. So I kind of thought I could go ask them where it is, So I go I drive up on him. I said, I am looking for this place. Oh, we know where that is. He says, we'll take you there. So, thank you, God. So I'm following him out. And as I'm following him out, I see 2 more cars drive into that spot, which I know are other speakers that need to go to this place. I thought, I can't abandon them. So I let those guys go over here. And I said, are you guys going to the Kentucky teachers meeting? Yep. Okay, so I followed them. And let's see what here we... All right. So, yes, this is where we were at. And this is where we needed to get going, to head up. So I was the third one. So I'm following. And they actually drove past it, turned around, and came back and turned in this driveway here, I believe. There is no way I would have found that place by myself because the address was it just took us to the wrong place. So, sometimes you can't trust GPS. But she found it, we found it, it was fine, we got there. But that was one of the God, that was a God moment for me. Because you don't want to miss the very first meeting. These people will report back to your supervisor and tell them what they thought of you or if you were helpful or whatever. So I didn't need that. And then it is, show me the right path, O Lord. Point out the road for me to follow. We do. Now I'm talking literally here. But that isn't what our Lord is. He's talking about any path that we're on in our life. We know that. All right, so I have that there. I finally get there. What do we have this up? Kentucky Teachers Retirement Group. Awesome people. They never started a meeting without someone getting up and saying prayer. And we're talking public school teachers here. And that's your Bible Belt. So it didn't surprise me too much. But this is what was so cute. I learned after, because I had to listen. These were 4 meetings, 4 days, 5 days. And I had to listen to the same speeches for 5 days in a row. Yes. But this was cute. Their main concern when they came in, they would have, and these are always different people because we're moving around to different, in my trip, we're at different counties. And their main concern was saving their pensions. They were worried about their pensions being taken or, losing them. And another one's this, how now your child has a choice to go to public school or Christian school, and the state will help fund that child. And they did not like that. They felt to separate the church from the state and the state from the churches, and that financial thing belongs to them. It belongs to the public school system. It should not belong to the churches. But yet, let's have prayer. So I found it kind of ironic that they could have their meetings with church and state, but not the school, not the children's. So this is a girl who is Kelly, and she says, come on, I want to have my picture with you. No, I don't like pictures. I just do not care for myself in pictures. I know it's vanity. I don't know if it's age or what. But I said, sure, and that I have that covered up for a reason. But she was awesome. She was so awesome, very kind, very helpful to me the whole time I was there, helped me feel comfortable, sent back a really nice notice for me. And then at another point, I had a woman come up, and a little old lady says, I'd like to take your picture. And I go, okay. And she says, yes, it has to go in. We have our newsletter, and I would like to put the pictures in for the newsletter. I said, all right, go ahead. But that turned out sweet, didn't you think? Yes. It was, I have been at work for 4 years, and they have where you can put your own picture in so people can see and recognize who you are when you send them something. There was no way I had a picture I was going to put in there. Now, 3 months left of work, or 4 months, and I got a picture finally that worked out. But may all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. May those who long for your saving help always say, the Lord is great. So I praise the Lord for Kelly's help during that whole meeting, and that was from Psalms. All right, my computer. Remember my computer that worked at home? It decided it did not want to work at all. At all. It wouldn't come up, but the Lord impressed me to take my tablet. And the reason my tablet would work, even though I couldn't get any work on it, is because work stuff. Silver Sneakers website is public. You and I, anybody can go there. So I was able to pull it up on the tablet. But let me tell you, in the 4 or 5 days of meetings that I went to, 2 people asked me questions. So it was awesome. But the Lord, I felt, even with the tablet there, because another thing is, for me to sit through all these meetings that were repetitive and not have anything to do, at least with my tablet, I could do solitary and things like that. And then it rained. And here's just some of the things that went on. It rained the first 3 days in Kentucky. Spent a day and a half manually figuring out. One day something happened, I slipped, and it worked. I got it to work, so that was good. It rained almost every day we were there. Okay, and then spent an hour back at the hotel with sport. Yeah, when my computer didn't work, I went back to the hotel, and we spent over an hour back trying to get my computer to log in, and it was no go. So I didn't have it for the whole week I was there. Now, supper time. Using my GPS. And it was right, so I must have took a bad turn. And I'm driving down the freeway at 70 miles an hour for about 15, 20 minutes. And all of a sudden it has me turning around and coming back. And I'm going, that can't be right. That can't be right. Unless you have to do this to get to that restaurant. I was trying to get to a pizza place, I think. And anyway, so, recalculating. So I'm thinking, okay, this can't be right. And the voice says, just trust it. Just trust your people. Okay, I know. Okay, so I did. It got me there, and the trip home from the restaurant was 7 minutes. So, yeah. Yep. Okay, next time when you're done with the meeting, it was nice. Where I went the last 3 weeks, there were 2 meetings a day. This was just this one longer meeting, and around 12 o'clock, we were done. I was done for the day. I'd go there. I'd be there at 7:45, and be done at noon, and I got paid for a full day's work. Isn't that tough? So it was a great thing. But so I was driving to the hotel, to my next hotel, and I could not find it. I was there. I was at the place. I could see everything around it that was supposed to be there, but I could not find the hotel. And I drove up and back. Finally, I was at my wit's end, and I thought I was going to stop in and ask somebody. And the voice says, look at your schedule. So I open up my schedule, and what I had been doing was looking at the next address for the meeting place, not the hotel place. So I look over, and sure enough, there's the meeting place I got to be at the next morning. But so then I thought, oh, great. Because a lot of times, sometimes in the morning, they have you drive a half an hour to your next meeting. I thought, oh, do I have to go back a half an hour? But no, it was only about 5 minutes away, so that was great. Then I go looking for the smokehouse pizza. That sounds pretty good with my GPS. It took me to a secondhand shop. It's not the GPS's fault. It's really not. It's because things change. And I'm out in the parking lot, and I said, I'm hungry. I'm alone. And I see a man and a woman standing there. I said, sir, do you know where the smokehouse pizza place is? And he goes, oh, yeah, it's right there, over there. It's in the thing. And his wife goes, honey, no, it's right there. So sometimes it takes two to get things right. So that was an awesome experience. One night, Wednesday night, I bought fruit at Walmart. You get sick of eating out sometimes, and there's not really that much healthy food you can eat at restaurants, or at least light foods. And I will eat everything. So I bought some fruit at Walmart one night. I had some fruit for supper with yogurt, and I put it in the fridge to eat for breakfast the next morning, and it froze. It all froze. Yep. Some nice guy took the frozen raspberries, though, because those are good. Okay, it's getting to be Thursday. Is it time to go home yet? Not quite. The day before leaving, I'm in this car, that's still strange to me. I haven't loaded up gas. So, okay, I'm there. I can see the gas thing, but I can't get it open. So it's one of those that's got the cute little hidden button in the car but I didn't know that. So I walk over to another guy in the truck. I says, can you help me? I can't open my car for gas. Can you come and help me find out how to get this open? So he walked right up to the car. He opened up the car door, and he goes, yeah, it's right here. And he pushed the button. It was open. So then I go inside, and I said, do I have to come in here for a receipt? She says, no, because last time I went on a trip and filled up this is just driving, I wasn't flying, and filled up the car with gas. I forgot to take my receipt, and you need that. So I ate $47 worth of gas, but that was okay. So this time I knew I wanted my receipt. So I go in the gas station. The woman says, oh, yes, it'll come out. She says, but I can run you off a copy too. I said, okay, thank you so much. So I go out and I fill it, and it does come off, and I'm in the car, and I'm starting to drive away. Here she comes running with the receipt to give it to me, to make sure I had it. Wasn't that just so sweet? So nice. God is so good. Friday, it is time to go home. So I return the rental car, but then as I'm driving it back up, I had filled the tank before, but I had to drive about over an hour more to get to the airport. So I looked at it, and I think it was like a quarter tank down or something. I thought, oh, I forgot to fill the car with gas. And I'm on that craziness. Let me see if I got a picture here. Yeah, here's Austin Straubel Airport. Isn't it pretty cute? I mean, very simple, very nice. And that can even get a little big for me. Yeah, and back to here, St. Louis. So the main highway I'm coming in on, how I got inside of there, I couldn't tell you, but the GPS got me in there. And as I'm driving along, I'm seeing these little things here are all the signs that tell you where you need to go. And the reason I remember the gas is because the sign says car rental return. I'm going, oh, gas, I didn't get gas. Okay, because you want to fill it up, because if they fill it up, it's more. So anyway, I thought, oh, I don't leave. Whoops, got to back up here, see if it does that. I don't leave until 7 o'clock that night, and this is only 2. I thought, okay, just, you got time, you got your GPS, just leave. Well, I start to leave, not sure where I'm going to go, and I'm over here, and I'm slowing down because I don't know which way to go. I don't want to go downtown, and that is parking, so which way do I go? And so I thought, what I did, I parked. I pulled my car right up on here behind the sign and said, I actually said, Lord, where do I go? What do I do? And it was just a hard moment. And it was, let me see if I had it. It reminded me of Anne of Green Gables. How many of you seen that movie? It's a very great movie. I love it. It's a series, actually. And Anne in the movie, she's an orphan. All her life, she's been like nanny for these cruel families that make her help with children, which she's fine with, but all of a sudden someone wants to adopt her. And she's like, I think maybe 13 in this movie, 14, I don't know the exact age she's at, but she's so excited. And Morella is the the person is a Marilla, but I can't remember the husband's name or brother's name. Anyway, the brother comes to pick her up at the train station, and he's just kind of looking at her like, this doesn't look right, because they want a son. They had wanted to adopt a boy, and here sits this girl. But she's just talking away, and he is too polite and doesn't want to break her feelings or hurt her, so he just takes her home. And she walks in the house, but Aunt Marilla, she's different, or not Aunt even, just Marilla. And, what is this? She comes right out and says, what is this? And so I almost was going to play the scene, because it actually has that scene on the internet on YouTube. But Anne comes to realize finally that she says, you don't want me? And she goes, no, we don't have anything we don't need a girl. And so Anne just looks at her and she says, and she's just despairing. She's going to say, well, we'll keep you for the night. We can't just leave you here. And she says, well, then you can eat. She says, and Anne's saying, I don't think I can eat. I'm just in the depths of despair. And she said to Marilla, can't you even imagine being in the depths of despair? And Marilla says, no, I cannot. To be in the depths of despair would be to turn your back on God. And she's right. She's right. To allow Satan to get us to that point where we think it's impossible for God to help us is turning your back on God. So I've always remembered that. I thought she was a little harsh, but she was right. So that's how I felt right then. I'm sitting in the middle of thinking, what do I do, God? And finally he says, trust your GPS, just go. Well, okay, so I went to the left. I wasn't going to go downtown, I thought. But as I'm driving along, I see the sign, rental car return cargo facility. I said, I'm done. I'm taking it back. I don't care. There was only about a quarter tank gone, so I thought it can't be that expensive. So as I'm driving up to it, here it is. You're driving along, and I'm coming down here, and you're going here, and you're pulling in this little area here, and it looks like my arrows have changed since I made this, but that's all right. So I get to it, and I got to pull over this spiked thing. I mean, there's nobody in front of me, nobody behind me, and I look at it thinking, do I drive over that? I mean, the spikes are away, but there's still spikes. And I didn't know, and there's nobody. If there would have been someone in front of me who drove over it, I would have been fine. But I got nervous. So again, yeah, there they are. I pull over in here. And this is like another construction where they keep all their trucks and stuff, and I kind of pull around in there. And I park myself wondering what I should do, and I see cars come in. And they're just going over it. They're going over it, and they're pulling up, and they're lining up right up in here, because that's where it's a rental where you can drop your car off, and they take it for you. You don't have to go and park in any place. So that is where I pulled off, and then I did pull up in there, right here. We can see the second arrow up there is sitting there in line, and by this time there's cars in front of me, cars behind me, so you were trapped. There was no more going for gas. You were in there, you're returning your car. I thought, whatever, it can't be that much. So I'm cleaning the car out, the guy's there checking in the cars, and I'm getting all my stuff out, and I said to him just offhandedly, I said, so I forgot to put gas in the car. You would put that back in, right? And he goes, yes, we will. And I says, what do they charge for a gallon when you do that? $10. Yeah, $10. I went, what? 10? But they told me at the gate that it was only going to be $4 something, which is bad enough. And he says, oh, well, maybe you have a contract. Are you traveling for somebody? And I go, well, yeah. He says, do you have your receipt? And I wish I did. And I gave it to him. He says, oh, yeah, your work is contracted for $4.36 or something, a gallon like that. And I go, all right, then. So it's just like, oh, my goodness, $10. That happened to my girlfriend. She got a bill for $90 for gas because she didn't fill it. She fought it, and she won, but. And then Isaiah 43:2. This is truly it. I was in it. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and nor shall the flames scorch you. In a way, I want to look at that and say, that's a lie. But what it is, it's the truth, because God carries you through. You may not come out of everything unscarred with memories that you can never rid yourself of, but he is going to carry you through, and you're going to have victory over everything. So here we are, Louisiana International Airport, back again. I have all these hours to kill because I didn't get gas, and don't leave till 7. It's only 3 o'clock. No problem. It's a big place. I found myself a nice little chair against the window there, sitting in the sun, real close next to one of those magazine stands. This was like a personal family thing. They had magazines, and they had food, and they had drinks. And I'm sitting there thinking of all the awesome things God did for me all week. And I said, Lord, really, isn't there something I can do for someone? And I'm watching, and the woman who's running this top highest tray came out of there somehow, and she had it setting aside, and she was trying to get it back in there, not with the bottles on, just the tray. But this door is not made to stay open. So she's got the door here, trying to lift this heavy thing up. She's shorter than me. And finally I got up and went and held the door open for her so she can get that back in there. And then I ended up buying word search. I needed something just in case, and I bought one of those. And she said, would you like a receipt? And I said, no, that's all right. I don't need a receipt for this. She says, well, if anybody gives you any trouble, you let me know, because I will tell them you helped me. And I just said, it was so sweet. Yes, it was so nice. And then as I get to, it's getting closer. It's now like 6 o'clock or so I go and find the gate I'm sitting at. And sitting right across from me is an elderly couple. And the wife is very slow. She's got a cane, and she's really walking about like this. And at one point, he got up to go get them something. It was kind of cute. He came back with these 2 great big ice cream cones, and I'm just going, oh, those look really good. But anyway, so they're eating that away, and then he got up, took the stuff with him to go throw it away. But overhead, it's calling her ticket, her number, whatever it was. And she had to go up and go to the check-in right there and give them whatever they needed. I have no idea what it was. But she had all her stuff there. And I said, oh, no, go ahead. I said, I'll watch it for you. And so that was just another little thing. I mean, these are things you and I do every day. We just sometimes don't watch for it. And so they came back, and they was very happy about that. My next girl that I sat with on the plane, everything was going smoothly. We left on time. My next girl that I sat was actually coming from Door County. She went out with a bunch of girls and was heading home in Chicago. And her and I had an awesome, awesome talk. Learned a lot about just her personal life and things that are going on and living in Chicago. Well, in Chicago, now I'm on my way home. Chicago is not the best place to always go through. But, the Lord takes you sometimes through the fire right away, so everything else will seem like nothing after that. So I'm in Chicago. The plane is supposed to land we're supposed to leave at 7:30. It's departure time. We didn't get there till 8. And then there's holding time. And then deboarding time was 8:45. Connection time was, so by the time we got off the plane, it's 8:45. In 5 minutes, my connection is supposed to leave. And I have got 20-some, I don't know, gates. I have another run. So I'm running. I'm running with all this stuff, not my bag, hopefully, but all this stuff. And I have given up jogging since last year because of my back. But I'm doing okay. I'm actually catching up with a girl younger than me. And I looked at her, and we're both out the up, and I said, we're going to die, because we're going to die. And she just looks at me. Well, they better not have taken my phone out. She says that we are here late, and it's not our fault. And she says, if they take off, she says, they are going to hear it. I went, ooh. So as I'm watching her, she's turning off and going. She's going on a plane that's headed for Appleton. And I see closed, or whatever the sign says, that the plane had been boarded. It's shut. I go, they're in for it. I just thought, they are in for a mouthful. So I get to where I'm going, and I also saw, I wasn't quite sure what it meant, but my 8:50 had turned it to 9:20. So I'm fine. I have time to sit and relax. It had been delayed. Okay, and we were waiting to board. And we were waiting, and we were waiting. And finally, we boarded the plane at 10 o'clock from 9:20. Not too bad. But then we were waiting, and we were waiting, and we were waiting. So then finally at 11 o'clock, we were deboarding the plane because a little light switch in the cockpit was not lighting up, and they felt they were going to get it fixed. We waited about 45 minutes. They came back on and said, we are sorry. We do not have the part. We will be deboarding the plane and taking another plane, but it'll be right next to you here, so no problem. So we get off the plane thinking that, okay, we're going to go and get on the next plane. But no, it wasn't ready. The plane just landed. They had to go through all the safety checks, do everything they needed to do. So we're waiting again, and we're waiting again, and we're waiting again. But finally at 12 o'clock, now we're supposed to leave here at 8:50 it was. We're actually boarding the plane at 12. And 12:15 we are actually flying. 12:45 we arrived in Green Bay. And at 1:15 Tony came and picked me up in the morning. I had been texting him off and on. Finally, I said, honey, just go to sleep. Put the phone next to your head. I will call you when we're in Green Bay. But he couldn't. He couldn't. He was afraid he wouldn't wake up. So he was still up. He came and got me. And at 1:45, I am home, sweet home. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his step. Sometimes we think people plan our lives for us, which they do. My boss was hoping to plan my life for the next week or so to help the company, which is my job. But the Lord will use it in his way. There are things that he might have even planned. You guys, you got to know me. You got to know my history. For me to be asked to travel for work for 3 weeks to go somewhere and represent our job, it's just not feasible in my mind. It is not something, because with my brain, I'm thinking, how do they trust me to do this? When Matthew tells us 6:34, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. We've heard that 100 times. I love the way the Message says it. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now, and don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. So that is why I believe that we all have God going before us. Every single day of our life, he's before us. He's even behind us. And we are going to need him now, I think, more than we ever have. Here's another way he is before us. And he shall bring forth a son. Oh, guys, I'll hurry up. And he shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. He's going to go before us, even to help us. If you have sin in your life, I had something happen to me when I first joined the church. My kids were little. It was Christmas Day. I decided I was going to take the littlest boys to go see one of the Disney movies. I don't know if it was Bambi or what it was. So I took them. And when I got there, standing in line, in front of me was a family from church, from the Green Bay church. And I knew their faces. I didn't know their names. They had 2 little girls. And when they turned around, I looked at them and I said, hi, because I was so excited to see someone from my church. I loved my church. I love my new faith. I love the people in my church. And I saw somebody from my church. And they looked at me, and they turned back around without saying a word. I was so embarrassed and so hurt, and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't realize at that time that the movie houses were not kosher, that you just didn't go to movies. I didn't realize that they were probably embarrassed that I saw them there. But I didn't know this, and I was so hurt. And I just had a chip on my shoulder. So whenever I saw him again or the family, I just did not like them, and I didn't like the feelings I had. I knew I had to forgive them, but I said, Lord, I'm sorry, but what do? I said, I just have this bitterness. Well, one day, Margie invited me to her house for lunch after potluck. And I was excited to go. Her and her husband, I loved her kids, I loved her. So I got there. Guess who's there? He is. Now, by this time, he and his wife had actually separated. And he was there, but he's the one I had my chip on my shoulder with. And all of a sudden, we started talking about it. And I was listening more, so. And I come to find out, and I don't want to get too personal because you might know who he is, but when I heard about his life, my heart melted. And I just couldn't be bitter or angry anymore. And I thanked God, because if we are struggling even with a sin or bitterness or whatever, he will find a way to melt your heart if you will let him. Because I was hoping, I wanted to forgive this, but I didn't know what to do. But God is there. Even when we want him there for our physical things that we need, our homes, our food, our children, all that. But he's there for us, for our eternal life, to make us, to mold us in his ways. And so he goes before us, even planning way beforehand to save us, and which I find so comforting. I look at you and I see how God, I can point to each of you and I can see how God is going before you in certain things that you do. One especially is like Chuck and Carla, taking on a foster children like that. And Brad, your daughter, I mean, you are such a blessing to her. And she's a blessing to us. She is there to help us learn how to love. And it's so easy when we let the Lord to do that. So I could go over each of those, but we're going to close it.